Welcome to the Two Real podcast, where we seek to see things from both angles and discover the real as we go. And here today with us, we have Councillor Tom McDonnell. And so, without any further ado, Tom, do you want to give us some background on who you are, where you came from, how you wound up becoming an elected councillor, and the backstory of Tom McDonnell?
Yeah, well,
the real Tom.
the real Tom McDonnell, right. Well, I'm Councillor Tom McDonnell, as I know now, since 2024, but I'm a Mayo man from the west of Ireland, from Swinford in County Mayo. I come from a farming background. We had a small farm in Mayo, and we had a bit of bog, and that was the way most people in around that locality of where I come from. And it's a good connection with Councillor because a lot of we're here near Narramore today, and it's just where Lawrence's GA club is. It's a lot of lads that came up with land commission lands, and they moved from Mayo, where the land was very swampy and wet in parts of outside Swinford and Midfield. And you'll have the Gormans, Mick Gorman, the chairman, he goes back to John Joe Welch, who's a great stalwart, mighty man in Kildare GA. John Joe came from Midfield, just outside Swinford. And John Joe was an amazing man. He's done so much work. Mick Gorman and all, they've done so much work with the GA in this area and all throughout Kildare. They're renowned. And but that's where I come from, Swinford in County Mayo. But anyways, we had a house in the town, and because my father's family, they all got wiped out with TB. All his brothers and sisters.
Jeez, how long ago was that, Tom? When was
that we go back to the 50s, yeah. It was in the 50s, where there was TB was rife, and all his brothers and sisters died from TB, and so we moved into the town. Mum moved into the town in Swinford, and then but they kept the farm outside the town, which was only a mile and a half outside in Rathscannon, beside the graveyard in Swinford. So our morning was, when you get up, you had the bit of breakfast, and then you had to head over to the cattle to milk. We had about 8-9 cows milking, and it was hand milking that time. There was no fancy machines. I'm talking about the 70s. And
even in the 70s, Tommy, you didn't have machines back then, no?
No, the machine, we got a machine, I'd say, about 1979-80, that we got the machine. And we used to have, my father, before that, he used to plough the land with the horses. We'd shires and that. Yeah. And he used to do it around the village, and he used to make a few pound ploughing fields and tilling the land. So that's how he used to do it with the big horses. Yeah. And then we got our first one was we got a TVO 20. TVO 20, I don't know if you had to mix the...
I wouldn't be familiar with them, but I do know TVO, you had to mix a few.
Paraffin with the petrol.
Yeah.
Yeah, it swung the starting handle at the front. Well, that was, we had very basic stuff. It was very, it was just moved on from the horse, really. And then we're small.
It's amazing to think that that was as recent as the 1970s, it was in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, that was there.
And especially when you see the big machinery going around now.
That's in Swinford. So was there a big population in Swinford at the time?
No, I think this population of the town was about 1,500. But it had a big outlet, like Midfield, where I'd say a lot of the people in around Narramore and that, where they settled up here. Yeah. Midfield there was a church in Midfield, a little parish there. Yeah. Midfield. Then you had Councillor, which went back into the Ox Mountains, was one of the biggest parishes in Ireland. But it wasn't populated. It was big area, big span. And then Swinford became a very nice market town. We used to have the fair there every fortnight, and then was it every week or every fortnight? And then it went on to be every month. And then I remember we used to go in there with the cattle, and you'd be selling, you might bring in 3 or 4 bullocks, you'd be selling them, and you'd be standing there all day, and that was the way. And the fair days were great.
And was it a happy household you were in?
It was unreal, yeah. It was unreal. So if you didn't get in time for the dinner, there was 10 of us in it, you didn't get a dinner. So you wouldn't be saying, well, I don't like this, bam, or I don't like that. You grabbed it.
Yeah, you got what you were given.
Because we used to kill a few cattle, and we had the fridge freezer, and we'd have our own meat in the fridge freezer. We'd kill a heifer or a bullock every year, or 2 of them or whatever. And but you wouldn't be saying, I don't like this and I don't like that. You were delighted when the food came up on the table, and you had your seat, and you You hadn't to be asked twice. You were in and you got it.
And did you play GA? Was there a local GA club?
Yeah, well, I played GA and I played soccer. I played everything, but I was mad into the GA. We had a good soccer team in Swinford, and we won a Connacht Youth. We were probably the smallest little town in Connacht to win it, because we bet Castlebar and we bet Strandhill Celtic in the final 3-1. We bet Castlebar Celtic 1-0 in the semi-final. That was in 1981. And then we went on to Showgrounds in Sligo and we bet Strandhill Celtic in the final 3-1. And it was a big achievement, because when we bet Castlebar in the semi-final, they had something like 7 lads that were an Irish international, and that 7 on the Mayo youth team. And I was part of that Mayo youth team, but we got to an All-Ireland semi-final. We played Limerick in the semi-final, and they had Tommy Gaynor. Tommy Gaynor was famous. He played for Nottingham Forest, and he scored a goal. They bet us 3-1 in the semi-final of that youth tournament, the national youth tournament in Ballina. And Tommy Gaynor scored 2 goals that day. They bet us 3-1.
Okay.
But Tommy Gaynor he was famous. He went from Limerick. He was playing for Limerick. He went on to play for Limerick. They were in the National League that time in the soccer, and he went from there to play for Nottingham Forest under Clough, and he scored the winner in a cup winner, the League Cup final. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So he was serious. But in Gaelic then, I loved the Gaelic. We had a great Gaelic team. And Martin Kearney worked with RTE. Yeah. Martin Kearney was our teacher at school. He's from Ballyshannon in Donegal. And Martin taught us maths and English. And he was...
And were you good at school? Did you enjoy school, or was it just you had to do it?
I know, it was a sufferance really. I wasn't into school. I was more into practice. But I liked history. Yeah. And I like geography. I like some subjects, and obviously
very good. Same as myself. Yeah, I used to love them subjects.
Yeah. So I always liked reading about the war and about 1916 and what happened. And, you were very interested in this. So there was aspects of school I liked, but I was happier when I was out playing football or back out in the farm. I wasn't mad about school. Yeah.
And so when you finished school, where did you go, or what did you do?
Well, the first job I had when I left school, a couple of little jobs. We were doing up a school outside Swinford in Meelick. That was another town and another parish with a church there, and they had turned into a community centre. And I worked on that for Enco for 6 months, and then I got a job then in Halal and Ballyhonus. Okay. They took over that from the Webbs, and they were killing 500 cattle a day and 2,400 sheep. So that was a big, you start there. We used to leave Swinford at 6 o'clock in the morning in the back of a van, and we'd head to Ballyhonus, and you'd be starting there around 7:30. We used to start there, and it was on the whistle. When the whistle went, you got your tea break, and when the whistle went, you went back.
And did you enjoy it?
I was, and it was a job. It was money at the end of the day. Did I enjoy it? No, I didn't enjoy that. You'd be taken off. My job was taking off the hooves of the cattle, the front legs, and they'd come up. The halal kill with pride, but it's very cruel, and you'd have the animals would be hanging in the blood tunnel for maybe a half an hour, and they'd be still kicking. And I found it very, very, very cruel, and I didn't like that, because I used to go down the tunnel to them. I was good in my feet because I was good at football, and you go down and you'd be sort of trying to kill them out properly. Halal kill with no humane killer. Yeah. And it's from ear to ear, and it's not nice. It's not nice, and that wasn't a nice.
It's kind of a big subject at the moment with everything kind of going on in the. I know a lot of people are talking about that at the moment, because with maybe the culture of halal and things like that. A lot of people are against it.
Yeah, well, it is very cruel, and there's no other way around it. They had a system there, which is a good system, that shackled them. They cut them from ear to ear. The poor cattle were coming in. There were no they were in. That it was going to happen, because you had to let electric prodders to prod them into. They go into a area they couldn't move, and then they would instead of I know you said that they're going to be killed, but if at least they're killed directly with the humane killer, it's over. for them.
Yeah.
Straight away, instantly. But the other way, it goes on for about a half an hour. They're kicking they're definitely kicking for 25 minutes. Because they used to come up to me, and if they weren't, I used to have to immobilise them, put them at the back of the neck, and trying to work on them then. Because I used to like going for a smoke break, my own smoke breaks. And so I'd go down the tunnel, I might do 7 of them down the tunnel, and I could do 5 when they got by me. My job was to take off the front hooves and that. And so I'd be doing 1,000 of them every day, with 500 cattle.
When you think about that, like you say, like apart, what age were you doing that?
18 or something.
So you think of like an 18-year-old, it's just weird when you look at it, say from nowadays, like an 18-year-old now is probably working in a Centra or, you know, in a Super Value or something like that. It's more like meeting people, put the products through. Like yours is a lot more in the face there, if you get me. Like that not many young people would do that job now, if you get me.
No, I suppose, but see, when we
could I not saying change a character, but it definitely, like, it's not an easy way to make money for a young guy, especially. Not for anybody.
But it was, you just accepted it at the time, and that was a job, and you just got on with it and done it, and that was it. And you were glad if you got a Saturday, made up a few pounds in the wages. But that's it. If you had £20 in your pocket that time, you were made up.
Yeah, of course.
So you didn't pick and choose, because you wouldn't go to your parents looking for money. There was no other way of getting anything. So you had to work. There was no such thing as not working. And then after that, I was playing football away, and that went on to 1984. When I worked at the post office then, I left that after about a year and a half, and I was working in the post office in Swinford.
Okay.
And I was doing temporary postman, but I used to get about 9 months a year out of that. There was about 6 postmen, and they'd be taking time off and sick time and everything. I used to get a little bit of I at least get 8 or 9 months work with them. So then I was taking home 80 pounds a week. It was punts that time, and you weren't really going anywhere. You know, you weren't progressing in life. And then lads were starting to go to England, but we were fairly good at the football, because I made the Mayo panel. I was part of the 83 team that the Mayo won the All-Ireland under 21.
Okay.
And I got suspended, playing a match at Swinford, and I got suspended, and I got 3 months. John O'Mahony was over the team, and I remember I was in camp in the FCA in Castlebar, and I couldn't get from Castlebar to Kilshamount straight, and I missed a few. I was suspended and missed a few straight. So he sort of dropped me out of the panel. I was out because I was out sort of May, June, July. It was right in the middle of it, and then I was dropped down. But we that year we went very well on in the club. We were intermediate club, and we got to the intermediate final against Park.
Okay.
And Hughie Brennan, I don't know if people from around Kildare, Hughie played for Eire Oak, Carroll, and he won. Hughie was a bit younger than me, and Hughie was playing midfield on the team. And John O'Mahony was bringing myself and Hughie back into the panel, and it didn't happen in the finish. But he wanted to bring the two of us into the panel again. And it didn't materialise, and Mayo won the All-Ireland. John Mahan was on the team, John Finn, all these guys who were on that team. Kevin McStay was part of that. And they had some great big names in J. Gabriel Irwin goals and that, you know. So they had. It was a great Mayo team, and it was.
And when lads were saying, like, say you were saying they were going to move to England for work, was that just kind of, did you just start hearing about it, or did you hear people going over there and you said that might interest me? Or
the lads have to move to England for work back. That's always interested me with back then. Some people tell me, Mick, there was a shocking shortage of work back then, and other people say, no, there was all the work you wanted. Just lads wanted a better crack at it, so they went to England.
Yeah, well, see, there was a lot going on at that time in your mind. You know, you could build a house that time for about 15,000. You know, if you had the site. So my brother done that, about 12,000, I think. They built it themselves, you know.
Yeah.
And you were feeling, if you went to England, you get a few pounds together.
Yeah.
If you're on £80 a week, you weren't able to get a few pounds together.
Yeah.
You know, you give your mother 20, and you had 60, and if you had a car, you couldn't really afford a car on them. You were just a penny a collar.
Yeah.
So you had jobs. I always had work.
Yeah.
But you were you weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And you felt if you went to England or went to America, and that's where I wanted to go originally, was go to New York and that, at Boston. And you felt if you got there, then you could afford a house, come back.
Yeah.
But then, as I went to England, there was great crack in London at the time. Kilburn was full. All the pubs were Irish. From the top of Kilburn down to Maida Vale, all the way back, all the way into Cricklewood and beyond.
Yeah.
Every pub was
And did
Irish.
you find the English receptive to the Irish coming over, or was it kind of touchy time?
No, I had a bit of a touch with the guard, the police over there, because the Hyde Park bombings were 83, I think.
Okay.
And I hadn't a clue. When I went over, I was going around just trying to exploit the city in the middle of the week. And I remember I went down to Knightsbridge one night, and there was nothing around. Knightsbridge is sort of exclusive area, and I was wandering around, and next thing, police pulled me. They recognised, because a girl pulled up and she started asking me directions and this, that and the other, and I was speaking to her, and they recognised the accent. So 4 plainclothes police pulled me and jammed me up against the window, checked me out. So, where are you from? Where did you come from? And then there was a paddy wagon house in my house the next morning to verify it, because I was going to work at 6:30, 7:15 in the morning in Shepherd's Bush, and I was looking as I come out the door, and where I lived you'd never see any police. And they were verifying who you were and what you were, and But in general, no, we had no problem with English. No, you get an odd fool you're playing football against, and he give you a comment here and there. But in general, English people are very receptive to Irish.
Yeah, that's the story that I kind of always hear, because I know a good few people who lived in England back then, and they always say that no, English people were they were very fair and very spot on. In fact, a good few Irish people often said to me, and I don't know if this is true or a generalisation or whatnot, but you were actually better off working for an English person in England back then.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Because we used to work for subbies like Danny Sullivan and all these, and lads, we weren't on big money. It was only £20, £25 a day if you were labouring. That's what it was. But I tell you, you were labouring.
Yeah.
You weren't going out sweeping floors in place. You were going concrete and like the first job I had in London, I'll never forget it. I arrived there on a Tuesday night at 10 o'clock at night in Hindon Syndrome, and at the next morning I was working in Hammersmith at 7:30. And my job was, they call it ballast over there, they call it gravel, we call it gravel.
Yeah.
And when they dig out, there was a 10-acre Lyons Bakery, had a big site there in just outside Hammersmith. And so they dig out the ballast at the start, and they'd be doing all the groundwork and putting in the pipe work and all that at the start. But they'd bring up the ballast gravel in lorry loads to me. Yeah. And my job was then to put cement and put it through the mixer. Put cement and put it through the mixer, put it into the dumper and bring it back down to the boys. And there was no safety, nothing. The boys would be down with the hankies on the head. They're all Irish men. And these lads were in their 60s, and they'd all have the hankies on their head, and I'd come down with the concrete, and they'd be throwing fucking stones at you and everything. If it was too dry, you didn't know. You didn't. We weren't true culture. That's to say fucking this stuff. They wouldn't say, Tom, put more water in it, or if it was too dry, and if they were blinding, that's what they were doing. So they wanted it wet, so they had to rake it and spread it. And they'll come down they'd more throw a stone at you now than
stone on the side of the head meant more water.
Well, they let one fly at the dumper. And you get a few F's and whatever. But they'd never sit and say, Tom, look, just put in a bit more water. So you had to figure it out fairly quick.
The language, the lingo.
You had to figure it out.
And how long were you over in England for?
I was in England then up to about, what happened then, we were in Kilburn, and my wife's a nurse, Pauline, and I met her, she was living near Stevens Corner, and that's the Butter Day Man, and she was going to work in Edgware, and she got down to the bus, and I was codding her. I was on a jackhammer that morning, and knocking a bit of a wall, and she liked a bit of crack, and I was chatting with her. And I met her a couple of months afterwards at Bagatelle in Harrison, and then we exchanged numbers, and we started a relationship then with Pauline, and then that was about 1986-7, and then we got married in 88.
Over, where did you get married?
I got married in Waterford City in the cathedral, because Pauline's people are all, she was born there, but she'd always say she's Irish.
Where's she from? What is she from?
Her people would be from Waterford.
Waterford?
Yeah,
okay.
They'd be from Tramore.
Tramore.
And just outside Waterford City, there'd be Hallies and Kerwin. Be Hallies on her mother's side, and Kerwin, she's a Kerwin, and they'd be from Clune in Tramore. Yeah, so she'd be back home every year for a month or two, you know, every year since she was a child. She'd always go back to Waterford. And she loved all the Irish music, Irish culture and everything, you know. And
you never had a problem because Waterford wouldn't be playing Mayo in any football. So.
No, there were no references.
Or hurling, so you avoided that one anyway.
There was no clash there with Waterford. So anyway, we decided we'd buy a house. I wanted to go to New York because been handy at the football. There was there were connections in Boston, there were connections in New York, and they wanted me to come over and whatever. And because I played for London, we won 4 championships that time, and we played in Ireland.
What club did you play with in London?
I played with the Kingdom, and I played with Tyrconnell Gales.
Okay, yeah.
And I tell you how high the standard was. In 1991, Tyrconnell Gales won the London British Championship, and they went back and played Lavey. You'd either play the Ulster, Connacht, or Munster champions in the All-Ireland quarter-final. And they went home and played Lavey, and James McCartney Down was playing for Tyrconnell Gales. Okay. So you'd have great players. Yeah. There was always, most of your team would have played under 21 and minor or senior for their counties at home. They were all good footballers, serious good footballers. And they were serious club. But anyways, we were beating Tyrconnell Gales at the time. We were beating them by three points with 90 seconds to go. And there was a bit of a ruckus with up along the sideline. I think James McCartney was involved in it. And there was a throw up after the Shamazel finished, and Lavey won the ball, kicked it. Anthony McGurk was the next all-star. He caught the ball in the square, turned and buried it, and it went to extra time. And then there was another bit of a ruckus, because it should have went, the replay should have went back to London, but they played extra time, and Lavey won by 2 minutes in extra time. And Lavey won the All-Ireland that year. So that just tells you
the standard
was seriously high.
Of course.
And
and did you then want to go to New York?
Yeah, I was invited to go to New York in around that time, and we had bought a house in Watford, and I said to Pauline, we go to New York, and we stayed there for a couple of years and come back here and buy a house, you know, in Dublin or whatever. And see, things changed a lot then in London, in England, you know, in the UK, everything changed. Because Nigel Lawson was the Minister for Finance over there, the Chancellor of the Exchequer or whatever, and he put up interest rates where our mortgage was about 600-700, and it went up then to 1,500. The interest rates went up something to 16%.
Wow!
And it started a massive recession in England. That was back in the 89-90, and then the buildings stopped. Then it went from, like, we were started off £25 a day, but we were getting £80 a day at the end of the 80s. The work was flying. Everything, the economy was brilliant, and so from 84 to 89 there was I'd say it started in 80 to 89. There was a massive boom in the building industry, and then it just, when he put up the interest rates, it just collapsed. Everything. Houses in London went up to about 100,000 in general. That was your general 3-bed in around that. They wouldn't be in the prime locations, but they'd be out in the outskirts and that. And they would drop into about 50. So a lot of people were in negative equity. So it's just.
I heard about back then, alright. A lot of people had to hand the keys of their houses back in. You know, like, you wouldn't take it. Maybe before we move on to the next part, one insight or question that I'm always curious to ask anybody who lived it back then was, say, growing up in Ireland, even back in your early childhood, was it really easier back then than now? You know, the way some people maybe look back on it in terms of, they might look back on it with rose-tinted glasses, but then, you know, when I ask when we look into it, and say like earlier on, you alluded that, yeah, you'd always get work in Ireland, but you'd never be able to save a few bob, you know. Like, it was cheaper to build and buy a house back then, but it was a lot more difficult to save money. Would that be correct? You know.
Yeah, but we had a great upbringing.
Yeah.
We had great times.
Yeah.
Like, I do talk about the hardship. Like, as I say, you get up in the morning, you go over and you milk the cows, and you'd head on down to the bog. Then you'd be turning turf all day and clamping turf.
Yeah.
And then at 4 o'clock, the mother and father would come, because he was a bushman and all, come in with the tea and sandwiches. And it was like someone giving you water in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
There were no shops, there was nothing.
No.
When you were in the bog, you were in the bog. And
Yeah.
there was no going up the road in the car. We had no car.
Yeah.
We usually went down with the ass and cart or whatever. But anyway, then we'd work on for another hour and a half, and then we'd go back home and milk the cows again. And then, but the great crack then we used to go, see, it was a different life. You didn't have the phones, you didn't have other distractions. And if you weren't training with football, then you'd head to the mall and you'd swim all night till 11 o'clock. Yeah, because the sun goes down, you get that a half an hour extra in the west of Ireland. Yeah. And you'd be swimming in the mile then till 11 o'clock at night, 10 to 11. And that was your shower, your wash. It was unreal. We had a great childhood. We had, because we were always doing something, fishing and hunting and doing all sorts. There was great freedom. It was just unreal. Our childhood was probably the best childhood of anyone. Kids now don't have a childhood like that.
No.
They don't have freedom.
No, the phones have definitely messed all that up.
Yeah.
And would you think, just going back to that time, people were happier with less?
We had nothing, but we were way happier.
Yeah. Whereas now you see people and they have everything and they're not happy.
Not happy. We didn't even, you know, a bag of chips was like sausage and chips.
Yeah.
It was like you go to Ballinafton and you'd say, it was like, it'd be like going to America on holiday. It was to go down to Ballina and go into a cafola and have a plate of chips and a burger or a sausage and a Coke. It was such a novelty. Where you have them every day now. Like, everyone can just get a ring, text a number, and they can drop it at the house. And so we didn't have that. And
would your family would have gone to mass on a Sunday?
Oh, every Sunday. Yeah,
every Sunday.
Every Sunday, my father and mother, and in Naturday's they always went to knock. They always went to mass knock. There was no such thing as get up in the morning and you're not going to mass. It was
you were going.
You were going one way or the other.
Can I ask you, because if you look at it now, people say, I went to mass every week, and then you get a lot of people you speak to and they go to mass. They're there, but they're not there. They're at the back of the church talking about maybe the football match or whatever it is, or like, were you a true believer in things, or was it that you wanted to go there, or was it because you were brought to go there?
I used to pray every night going to bed. I always prayed. And I always said my prayers. As you say, mass on a Sunday, you'd nearly be meeting lads from the night before and things, and you wait. But I know people that say mass was a bit of a sufferance and they didn't connect. See, there's a big thing there. They're not really connecting with the youth and with the people on an everyday basis, you know. But as regards, there is only one God. And all these other fake gods and fake religions mean nothing. There is one God, and that's it. Like where I come from, 10 miles up the road, Our Lady appeared in Knock. I think it was 1779, was it? In Knock, she appeared. And the reason I always said that, the reason Our Lady appeared in Knock was you're coming after the famine. Ireland was in an awful state after the famine. And there was rolling famine sometimes, you know, genocide. It was a genocide. And all our people were eliminated. They were starving in the side of the road, they were eating grass. In Swinford, where I come from, there was a mass grave, 500, at the back of the workhouse. 500 in one grave at the Met. And it is famous from, I know a lot of people don't talk about Michael Davitt, the famous Michael Davitt from the Landleague. He was from Straight, they got evicted in Straight, and they came into the workhouse. Mrs. Davitt came into the workhouse in Swinford. And that Straight is only 5 miles out the road. And they were separating the boys and the girls in the workhouse, and she wouldn't have it.
Okay.
And Michael Davitt's mother then got her way to Dublin and got over to Liverpool and went on, and they walked out somewhere in Lancashire, and they found refuge and Michael got a job in a textile factory in the outskirts of Liverpool. It was in Lancashire, and he lost his arm. As anyone will see photos of him, he lost his arm. But they were staying, an English family that they were staying with, and they had a few bob, and they put him through college. And then from that, he came on. He was a part of forming Celtic, Glasgow Celtic, and he was one of the founder members. It was brother Wilford, and he was one of the founder members of that. And there's a history to that. There's penny dinners. That was only Glasgow Celtic was formed to raise dinners for the Irish immigrant families in the Gorbals in Glasgow. And when Brother Wilford seen the opportunity that people wanted to go and watch these matches, and he says, well, we could get organised challenges with teams from England, and he says we'll charge a penny to go in, and they were playing matches on Commonage, where Celtic Park is now. That was all that belonged to the council. It was all a Commonage, and then from that they progressed to buy it.
Yeah.
And but the idea of Glasgow Celtic was to feed the Irish immigrant children that were starving in. He says you couldn't get education unless you had something in your stomach. You couldn't go to school. And that's what he was from Ballymote. So Ballymote would only be 25 miles from Swinford. Brother Wilford.
Yeah.
So
and have you been over to Glasgow?
I have, and it's absolutely, it's eerie.
You can feel it?
You can feel it spiritually.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because it's you came from the famine, and that's what they all moved around. They were looking to get places to get food and to get some sort of work, and that's why they moved to that area in Glasgow.
And you could feel it when you're there. That kind of thing. I had that feeling with the Falls Road when I went up to Belfast. I have that. I actually
connection.
I touched the road. I remember I just sat there and I did the black taxi. You go around the tour, right? And I just put my 2 hands on the ground, and you can feel it. Like,
connection.
You can really. It's just there. I places have that.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine if you're saying Glasgow.
Well, Glasgow Celtic had. I don't know, because I've been in Wembley, been in Croke Park, I've been in Old Trafford, I've been in West Ham, I've been in them all. I had no connection. But when I went to Glasgow Celtic, I found the spiritual connection.
Yeah, of course.
It was there, yeah, massive. It was massive connection.
You don't have that for the doll now, do you?
No, no.
I just no. So just getting back to it. So you then went. Obviously the prices in the UK and then you decided to go to New York, was it?
I did. We decided, and Pauline done she got a job with Grady Payton. We're doing an agency and bringing nurses over, and she done it because you had to have certain qualifications to nurse.
Yeah. Outside
what was in America, outside what was in the UK, you had to have different qualifications, and she done all that, and then she fell pregnant then with Tomas.
Okay.
And then we had our first child, and that put in I kept thinking we'd go again. Then Queeving came along, then Donegal, and
So how many children do you have?
We had 5 children.
Okay.
Yeah. So they all came 1 to 5, and they were 1 year after the other. So that stopped the gallop, as a man says. There was no going to New York, and then I came back to Ireland then around to Kildare in '94. Yeah.
And Kildare, what made you choose to go to Kildare?
Because it's a satellite town. It had been near Dublin for work. I was in construction, and we were shuttering up in Dublin then. I was working in Dublin, carpentry and shuttering, and doing Zoe and all them were big at the time, and working for them, doing apartments and doing the first, second fix on those.
Good vibe around at that time?
Yeah, it was tough. Like we used to go to Moore Street I'd work there. was taking home about 380 that time after tax. And you go to Moore Street. I remember I'd always distinctly, I'd go to Moore Street and I'd go to Butley's there and I'd get the meat for the week.
Yeah.
And I'd get the vegetables for the week off the women on Moore Street. And then I'd head for the train in Houston. I get the 90 bus or I'd walk. The two hands would be pulled off you with that was it was a good. Then the work started to really pick up and things got an awful lot better as the 90s went on.
Yeah. People have said it's the best era, the 90s. People, a lot of people say, a lot of people have said that.
You had to change over to the euro, hadn't you? And
Well, obviously, David, that's not the part. I wouldn't be a fan of that.
It did. Work, money, and everything went up. Wages went up. But the euro was the biggest. It's been the biggest disaster ever.
Oh, I think
I agree. Yeah, that's actually what triggered the bubble here in Ireland, the Celtic Tiger, and Ireland's economy, according to the bit of research that I done, it was actually sustainable up until it joined the euro, because the central interest rates for the euro was set for the EU in general, particularly Germany and France, and the interest rates were way too cheap for Ireland, and it triggered the massive credit bubble that led to the Celtic Tiger and the speculation then in the housing market and all that. So Ireland was actually doing all right until it signed up for that euro.
Yeah. We needed an injection of building and things to happen. But you're absolutely correct. It was the zero interest rates and all that, and then everyone got into debt.
That's right.
And you'd say it's a conspiracy theorist did they create that recession because they took control of the country. If you remember, then that went on into the building boom went on to 2007-8, whatever. Yeah. And then everyone was in debt. They were buying second houses and there were big cars and all debt, and all of a sudden it was like that. It was all over. Click of a light switch. It was all over.
Did that hurt you?
Yeah, but there was no work.
Obviously,
it absolutely had affected everyone in the building industry. And I was contemplating going to Australia because there was no work in construction. Pauline could nurse out there, but I didn't want to make the same. Because I made the Mayo panel in '84, and I didn't want that to happen to Queeveen and Donegal and Tomas. The three of them were minors. Together with Sarsfields. They played with the
Sarsfields.
Okay. And the three of them were good footballers. Now Tomas wasn't over interested. Sive was a good footballer too. She played underage with Kildare and so I said I felt I'd rob them of that opportunity. And
it's very noble to even think like that. You know?
Well, that's what that's why I didn't go to Australia. I says, well, they're young and they could play for Kildare. Queeveen made the Kildare team. Donegal was on the 2009 Kildare team that got to the All-Ireland quarter-final at minor, and he was a very good footballer. He got knocked out against Wexford and it damaged the line in his brain, and it did affect him. I remember Paul Cribben was on that team, and the scout that was over that time from Australia, he brought Paul over. He wanted to bring Donegal, and Donegal was very bad.
Queeveen or Donegal?
No, Donegal was on that 2009 team. Donegal captained Sarsfields to win a championship. Yeah. He won 4 championships with Sarsfields, and Queeveen won 4 championships with Sarsfields. So I wanted to give them the chance to play with Kildare and to fulfill their football career. And but anyways.
What happened with work then with you? Do you mind?
Work went very slow then, there was no work. It was a struggle all the way through then. Then there was a change of government when Enda Kinney came in, and Enda Kinney was. Do you remember he sold to Fine Gael that he would burn the bondholders, and everyone voted for Fine Gael on that. Yes. So I voted actually for Martin Hayden, believe it or believe it not, at the time, because I always voted Fianna Fáil.
Was that your household in Swinford? Was that Fianna Fáil?
Yeah, we were always Fianna Fáil. I would have always voted for Power and then in Fianna Fáil. My vote would have always went to Fianna Fáil. I wouldn't be politically minded really them times, but I would have always had a liking for Fianna Fáil. But then I voted for Martin, because everybody obviously did in the country, because Fine Gael walked the election in, was it 11 or 12?
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
And then they started talking about they changed the whole tune once they got in. They lied to the people.
Yeah.
That's not like them now, Tom. That's not like the Irish government to be doing that, is it?
You know, we're not really into politics. You trust these politicians. And Martin Hayden, and they actually lied to the people. They didn't burn the bondholders, they burnt us. Because what they brought in, all these measures and taxed us. They brought in all the UFC and all these other... They got a loan from the European Union. IMF. And I think they signed away Ireland that time.
They did, yeah. That was definitely the change of... Ireland changed at that time, in around 2012 and that.
Yeah, so you have to remember it was done on a lie.
Yeah.
Because people have to trust people, you know.
Yeah.
I know they say don't trust a politician and all that, but Noonan was the Minister for Finance that time. It was Michael Noonan.
He was.
And Enda Kinney. And they says, we're going to burn the bondholders. And I says, fair play, lads. That's it. So they pushed on. The way I look at it, if you go into a bookie shop and you put £100 on a horse, and that's what the loan, these boys had loaned the money to, given all this money to Ireland, to all these. They took it's like they were going in and they were going to get 150 back and they were guaranteed. But then all of a sudden the recession came in. Yeah. And that was, so they couldn't repay the debts. So they'd lost. Yeah. So my idea of that was they put the money down, they lost, and they should wipe it all off. Yeah. And and then if we had to leave Europe at that time, we should have left Europe. And we should have pulled back our seas. Yeah. We have the biggest seas in the world, built a big fishing fleet. Yeah. And we could have, we'd have been self-sufficient. Yeah. We had the gas in Balmullet. Yeah. It was another lie. By then they got rid of it. It's trillions, it's about 2 trillion lost there in gas.
Wasn't there oil in Cork as well? We found
oil in Cork, So we were well able to run our own economy. But I feel been purposely mismanaged.
Just going back to that, I think John Waters, I did hear him say one day that I think when Kenny was there, it was like a coup d'etat, because I think Obama and the Queen came within a week of each other in that time. And it was nearly like that. Now we're going into, not saying we're going into, because I don't even like the word, but conspiracy is that, because you should be like, think about these things, because no one does any of these thinking. But what I'm saying is, he had a kind of idea that we kind of signed over Ireland then. It was nearly completely signed over. And then big changes started happening from then on in.
Yeah, they did sign over Ireland because they gave all our control away, you know. They got us into massive debt. Like our debt was around 40 billion, I would say. 30, it was very manageable, Now we're running a debt of 250 billion. Nobody's talking about it. Yeah. They're all on about we're flahula money and all that. How, if you owe that sort of money, how are you so well off? So it's like a lad, he's driving a big Mercedes, but he doesn't own it. You know? Exactly, and we're that's where we are.
Well, that's why a lot of the economic measures are a bit misleading. Say the likes of GDP. If price inflation goes up, GDP goes up. So it looks better on paper. It looks like our economy is bigger on paper. But in reality, all that may have happened there is that prices just got higher on the average person.
Yeah, because we're bringing in about 100 billion every year in the taxes, whatever is coming into the coffers. Yeah. It's between 90 and 110. I think it could be 105 now at the minute. Yeah. But like, where's the money going? This is where I have a big problem, right? Like in Newbridge, like we've no swimming pool. No. We've no, that's an iPass centre. We've another hotel in the town.
The Gables, wasn't it?
That was the Gables, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I was involved. That's where I started my political career. Political career, 2 years. It's a shocker. But I got involved. That's where it goes back to where I got involved in politics.